Welcome to FUNC YOU UP, the podcast that gives you the best of functional medicine, nutrition, and wellness in 8 minutes or less.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to FUNC YOU UP. This is Michelle Miller, clinical nutritionist.
And this is Diana Orchant, functional medicine registered dietitian.
Today, we are so excited to have with us one of the chiropractors from Physio Logic, Dr. Sefanie Tropea, who is really, first and foremost, an expert in weight training and strengthening. So, Dr. Stefanie, first start us off with your history in that world, and kind of that'll lead us into a lot of myths in this world as well.
Okay, first I want to thank you for having me on your podcast. I'm really excited to be here and to get to talk to you about this. So I actually began competing in strength sports in 2007. I did a strong woman competition. I completely fell in love with that sport. I was a personal trainer at the time, and eventually I got to open my own gym, and we did all kettlebells, all barbells, and we actually incorporated the strong man or strong woman training into our programs.
And you did that. I mean, this was like a 10-year, operation you had going. This was no joke.
Yeah. So I had the gym for about 10 years in Norwalk, Connecticut. I'm from Connecticut. And it was one of the best times of my life.
Well, and it's, I love that this has been so much of your life and your passion, and something that you've incorporated yourself into your life, because I find with the world of health, the world of nutrition, there are a lot of myths. There's a lot of just misinformation that's out there about weight resistance.
Yeah.
I think as healthcare practitioners, we know how essential this is for our health, and it's very difficult to kind of move past those myths sometimes. So,
right.
Diana, I know we were talking earlier about some of these myths. Kind of let's just bust some of these through and kind of demystify this world a little bit. Diana, talk about some of the ones we were mentioning earlier.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many of them that we hear all the time. I hear it, I feel like every day. People saying, I think the number one that I hear is that strength training will make you bulky and look extremely muscular. So, Dr. Sefanie, can you debunk that for us?
Yeah, so actually that was probably the number one thing I would hear from women when they would come into the gym. I don't want to get bulky. And I think that maybe that comes from them at some point seeing a picture of a professional bodybuilder in a magazine, or maybe seeing a professional bodybuilding contest on TV or something like that. And what people need to understand is that that is a sport where they are training, they are eating, they are living a certain lifestyle to become that muscular.
It takes effort. It's not an accident that happens.
Exactly. It's constant training. It's the diet. They may be taking certain supplements, and again, it's more of a lifestyle. So this is not, when we're talking about weightlifting and strength training for health, we're not talking about that. We're talking about just getting stronger so that we can get through our activities of daily living easier. We're talking about improving balance, increasing longevity, things like that.
And you were even saying the opposite before when we were talking about this, that it's not that people bulk up, they actually get leaner and they're actually happier with their bodies.
Right. So another thing that women would say very, very often is, I just want to be toned. Well, the strength training is going to give you that look, because the strength training will build lean muscle tissue and will actually help you burn fat.
That's something we talk about a lot, is that we know as in the world of nutrition, that you are more metabolically active. There is more heat in the body. There's more thermogenesis happening when there is more muscle. And one of these myths is that, okay, I'm going to start lifting, but if I stop, all of a sudden, all this muscle is going to turn to fat. I mean, how do you answer that when you hear that?
So we're talking about two different types of tissues, right? So you can't just magically make fat out of muscle. What actually happens is if you stop lifting, your muscle might decrease, slowing your metabolism, and then your fat tissue will increase. So it's not that the muscle turned into fat, but it's that you lost some muscle and now you gained more fat.
Thank you. You're like, the science like that. Well, okay.
Right.
I think also going back to your original point of, you know, what we see on TV in the most extreme ways is like automatically what we think is, you know, going to be our experience.
Yeah.
How do you kind of approach the topic of, I could see this happening a couple ways where like people think they're only going to get results if they're lifting really, really heavy weights, or,
Yeah.
you know, I don't even want to do this because I can't lift that much. How do you approach that?
Right. Right. I mean, they've done so many studies on this stuff, and it ranges from you will get results just by lifting 2 days a week. You'll get results lifting 5 days a week. So, you don't have to go into the gym and absolutely destroy yourself every time. You do want to be following a good program that progressively overloads the system. So you don't want to just go into the gym and just sort of, do random exercises with no rhyme or reason to them. You can get hurt that way. It's kind of harder to see results that way. So it's really important to actually be following a very well-written program. Like, for instance, when I had my gym, we weren't just doing random workouts every day. We would actually do 12-week strength training programs so that, we had a starting point. And then we, at the end, we would see the progress because we would have the clients actually log all of their workouts. And it was really incredible to see what would happen over the course of 12 weeks. And the workout was 3 days a week. So 3 days a week for 12 weeks. And we saw tremendous strength gains in all types of people, in all levels, right? So we had 14-year-old athletes. I had 70-year-old women, and they were all doing the same movements, but they were doing the weight that was appropriate for them.
That's so interesting you say that it's all different ages, because I think another kind of myth out there is that people get too old to lift weights. They think that, once they reach a certain age, they should just be walking or doing lighter exercises. And in reality, I don't think that's the case. So I'd love to hear your perspective about that.
Yeah, that's totally true. Yeah. So as I was saying, I had members, in their 60s, in their 70s, lifting some serious weights. I had a couple women in the gym squatting 200 pounds, deadlifting, almost 300 pounds at 70 years old.
And
so,
you were saying that really helps strengthen their muscles that they need for daily activity.
Well, yeah.
And also help their balance. So there's a lot of benefits for that age group too.
Exactly. It also helps with bone health, right? So if you put stress on bone, it will react by getting stronger. So we really want, as we get older, this is even more important. And I had people start lifting in their 50s and 60s and 70s in the gym. So it's never too late to start. And it's definitely, age is not an excuse to not do it.
Well, and I also love, the idea of how exercise is medicine, how strength training can be a form of medicine. I mean, you just talked about how it can decrease your risk of bone loss. In our field, we talk a lot about how more muscle helps to metabolize and control blood sugar better. So
right.
like all of our pre-diabetes, diabetes patients, anyone with blood sugar concerns, like they have to have activity and weight resistance built into their program. It's just the most effective way to do it, you know, aside from just working with diet. What I'm curious about hearing is we get a lot of cardio junkies, and I think this high of like the endorphin, you know, expectation or rush. And I would be curious your thoughts on how you talk to someone who, you know, is trying to diversify their workouts and not just be in the cardio world.
Yeah, that was a tough one too. I would get that a lot in the gym as well. You know, some people, they just want to do cardio because they like it, or because they think that that is the only way to lose weight, right? We already talked about why the strength training is beneficial for weight loss. But I think that with cardio, you know, you get that high, you get that buzz, you're pouring sweat, it feels like you're getting your butt kicked. Whereas with a strength training workout, it doesn't always feel like that. Maybe you're sweating a little bit. You're not really huffing and puffing too much. It kind of depends on the training session, but I think that, you know, even though you're not feeling like, oh gosh, I'm dying, I'm gonna be crawling out of the gym after this, even though, you know, you're not getting that feeling, it doesn't mean that you're not doing anything.
And it's so, you know, I think with dieting, we see like, if you're not starving yourself, you know, you're doing right. Like, or if you're not, it's like, there has to be a pain component, I think, that we secretly believe for it to be effective. And that's not the case at all. That's actually, your body doesn't work well in that state. So it's really refreshing to hear a lot of these concepts go along the same line. You don't need to feel dead after this workout for there to be something effectively happening, you know, on the surface.
And you're still getting those endorphins, right? It's just because you may not be dripping sweat doesn't mean that you're not feeling good and confident and happy in this surge of happiness to your brain.
Yeah, so you're still getting those endorphins, plus all of the other added benefits that we already talked about.
So now that we've learned about all the fantastic benefits that are associated with strength training, where does someone who really is maybe a cardio junkie or really doesn't work out so much, where do they begin when it comes to strength training? Once a week? For how long? What would you recommend?
Well, I would definitely recommend with starting at least twice a week. And you can find a really good trainer that's local to you. You can, you know, Zoom workouts are now, you know, huge with everything that's going on. I'm a huge fan of kettlebells because they are so versatile and they don't take up much space at all. And I'm certified through Strong First, and their website has a lot of great information on how to get started, lots of good instructional videos. I would definitely start with something like that. You can do a full body, simple strength training workout twice a week. And I think for a beginner, you will see really great results after consistently doing those two workouts each week within a couple months or so. The number one thing is consistency. So it's better for someone to do twice a week, every week for 3 months than if you were to do, you know, 4 days one week, one day the next week, and you're kind of all over the place. So consistency, patience, that's really going to be the key here.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Stefanie, for joining us today and shedding some light, hopefully debunking some of these myths, because we know how important weight resistance and strength training is, and we gotta you know, this has got to get more popular. We got to bring this more mainstream because really our health depends on it.
Thank you, Dr. Stefanie, for joining us today. I think we've all learned that if we are not lifting weights, there's it's always a great time to get started. So thank you so much for all of that great information. If you have any questions at all, feel free to email us at funkyouup@physiologicnyc.com or via our Instagram at physiologicnyc.
See you soon.
Thank you.
You've been listening to Funk You Up. Be sure to like, review, and subscribe for more daily tips on living well.